Hello, I hope you're very well. My name is Diego Flores. I'd like to introduce myself. I am the coordinator of the ISP Techo Clubs program as a volunteer on the team of Techo International. I am also working on my local city, my local country, as the teams or volunteering coordinator in Mexico. I am Mexican from a city called Guadalajara on Jalisco. I'm 21 years old and I'm very excited to be here. I study international relations and I really like this kind of projects where we can meet from across the world, from across the region in a Latin American and Caribbean effort towards a same goal and a central value, which is justice and a more equal society. So thank you for watching this video. If you are, I hope we can meet soon on Google Meet and hopefully on person. I'm gonna make this presentation more brief in order for you to enjoy it and understand it better. The original session was meant for 1 hour and a half, so if you feel like I'm rushing a bit, feel free to rewatch a certain part. I'm not gonna reproduce the videos, so you can watch them separately on the presentation that it's already on the group chat. So now that we've started with that, I'd like to introduce the program of ISP Techo Clubs. Well, this is a program that we've been working on for almost a year now. ISP means International Schools Partnership. They are a schools aggregation that started or has like its base on England. They are basically like an organization that acquires schools all across the world. Now they have more than 109 schools on different continents, on Asia, on America, on Europe, and they have like a standardized educational model in which they like to include, or they feel that it's very important to include, this kind of life changing learning opportunities, which is where Techo comes in as part of a social program in which students can put their skills and their efforts into practice, doing something maybe out of the classroom and having an important impact on the communities in which we live and on the region in general. So the alliance has been made institutionally with ISP to launch the opportunity to make an ISP Techo Club in any school of Latin America. They have around 40 schools in Latin America and the Caribbean, so it is a great opportunity. It's an alliance that we've made, so the doors are open. We co-created the program, and now that you are here, well, it's all coming to life. So thank you. Previously, we've had some activities to kind of meet us all, and if you weren't able to join, I feel that like it's important for you to see these activities. This was answered both by the club ambassadors and by the teachers from some of the schools who already joined or kind of wrote up on the program. And as you can see, there is a very important diversity here. We have people from different places. We have even some, I don't know if that's on the border or it's on USA. On Mexico, we have other presence from Mexico. Then we also have some on Central America, on the Caribbean. We have Brazil over there, Argentina, and some other countries. So this is a huge project because there wasn't something like this before. Something that connected us in a joint effort towards overcoming poverty situation in the settlements, with schools, with volunteers from different places around the continent, putting their efforts into a same initiative and a same program which we can all learn from. So here is like the background of that. I asked next to write your story in a sentence. If you want to try this exercise individually, you're welcome to. Here are some of the examples. I can't. Oh, well, you can see some of them. The first ones are from teachers, and as you can see, some of them have already worked with Techo and find that the students and the volunteers are great, the staff, the families. Some are looking for a place to build a community. They are inspired from the work. Some of them have been working on many years on education and projects like that in South America, and they like to uh, build now a joint history with Techo. Others, the other ambassadors also wrote, from what I can recall, because I can't click it. It's that, oh, here, there we go. Yoo-hoo. There we have some students from industrial engineering, sorry, that love helping people and animals. Someone from Panama, Costa Rica, who is ethnically from China and it's very excited. I think that is Isabella, and it's very excited to be a part of a community of people full action and support in building leadership. Then we have Diego, not myself, Diego Guerra, also a student of engineering, but of my biomedic, who wants to and has worked on Techo for more than a year, likes pizza. Well, then in general, you can read the other ones, but we are mainly students, youth, empowering this project and leading its way. Now, I shared with the other ambassadors, and I'd like to share it with you as well. Uh, she, the one on the picture, his name is Miss Fabi. She was a teacher of mine during high school and middle school also, so like 8 years ago. And well, she was a geography teacher. She was very into social justice, into fighting inequality, and unfortunately, she passed away a few weeks ago. She had cancer, and she had been on that battle for well the 8 years that I had met her. But she was an inspiration to me. She came across my school and presented Techo and built basically what we are gonna be replicating as the Techo clubs. So I'd like to present her as the first part of our history together. For me, of course, she is the reason why I'm here, and I'd like to also like extend that and keep on her legacy across this project as a teacher from also an ISP school. Um, well, it's part of our history, and to know that there are lots and lots of people and hearts put into this project. Mm, and, okay. Mm. And also, how will our story be remembered? Some people answered already here. There we can see. In general, I think that there is a common, which is that we want to be a community, and a community that transforms, agents of change in Latin America, someone who always sought to contribute in their own way and want to leave a mark in the world, changing lives, acting to enacting change. So, well, it's pretty clear. You can also think, if you want to look back 1 year from now and see what was the Techo Club's program in which you were involved and which you led and participated, how do you want this story to be remembered? And well, that was the first part, the introduction, so we can we can meet a little bit more. Of course, feel free to interact on the group chat to know more about each other. Now I'm gonna skip the first slides of Techo, and this was the legacy that we carry. If you hadn't watched this video, it is like they uploaded it on 2024, and it's basically a collaborative video between many countries from Techo, in which it's presented how we share like the same vision of acting towards change in Latin America as youth, as students, as people who want to transform and are not only the future but the present, and we believe we can transform it together. Now, as I've mentioned, the ISP Teacher Club, the leading phrase is building our own story. And this is because this is the first time, as I've already mentioned, that we're going to be doing something as big. We've made some math, and approximately, if everything goes well and if we get involved as much as is needed, around 500 volunteers are going to be joining and participating in these transformative events and life-changing experiences through Techo, which is not only 500 volunteers, but it's also hundreds of students and tens of communities which are going to be impacted through the project that you are going to be leading now as ambassadors. Some of the program objectives, these are four that we have and that need to be on the center of what you are doing every day as ambassadors. The first one is strengthen the soft skills of volunteers by promoting spaces that foster personal and collective development based on values of solidarity, diversity, and optimism. So, as you know, Techo has three sides: the building of the projects, the youth development, and the community development. This one goes more in the part of the youth development, of growing as people through our volunteering in Techo. So this is one of the main objectives that we have, to strengthen the soft skills of the volunteers, of the students that go through. How? By promoting the spaces that foster this personal and collective development. The second one, and it comes, I think, naturally, is to raise awareness. Now that we are going to have access to these private schools of high income, we have opportunities that are completely new to raise awareness on those spaces, which are also very important to reach, because we are going to be able to create reflection, sensibilization that encourage transformative action through empathy and social commitment, which is not easy, but empathy may come naturally if you can connect with a story. And that's what you as ambassadors are going to be sharing. Now, promote a sense of community and cohesion between students and families in the community, or in the school community, strengthening bonds based on active participation, mutual respect, and joint efforts toward a more fair society. So this is a regional program. This is something where I believe almost 10 countries are gonna be involved. Volunteers as myself, as yourself, from different countries, and students that maybe you are not gonna think that have a lot in common, but we're gonna be doing the same thing on our local context. So we'd like to promote the sense of a community between the schools, between the communities, and as a whole. And finally, to facilitate an environment where each team member can fulfill the role. So you know that Techo teaches us things through action. So how can we learn from it to having a role where we can fulfill, and where we can kind of mm, transform ourselves on the path. Like, doing things is how we are gonna be able to achieve the learnings that we want, develop the skills, and well, to facilitate this collaborative and enriching setting. Um, One of the success stories, and you can see one of, well, Miss Fabi is over there on the bottom. She was the teacher, as I've mentioned. I'm over there on the corner. This is like how I met Techo, how I joined 6 years ago on my high school. Um, this Techo club kind of started, and we were a group of students who built like a mini Techo inside the school. We had our roles, we had everybody had a responsibility, and we set a goal, a fundraising goal, to build certain number of houses in a local in our local community. So on 1 year, 40 semesters, 40 40 semesters, 40 students from ITJ Palomar, which is the name of the school, fundraised $1,300 in 1 year. This was like 5 houses that we also built in this like school activity where everybody went there, and we had like this um, experience with some other students, some other schools. We were like together on like the event, and we did this through, well, the fundraising was through raffles, to bake sales, and through donations, which is a very important part of it, because as it is like a private school, as all of ISP schools, there are some people who have contacts and who have access to certain brands, to certain uh, branches, enterprises, construction, you know, uh, corporations, etc. And the message is very powerful, because now it's like we are a group of students who are who are leading this project to build 5 homes for people. To along with the people, we have been meeting with the community, with developing this program, we are making all of this in order together, and we want you to be a part of it. So the message is way more powerful when this invitation to these allies. So maybe in the past, Techo wasn't able to reach them or to get them to participate, but now that someone who they already know are presenting this project, like, as we are students, we are making this, and we want you to be a part of it. We're going to be the ones who build the homes along with the communities at the end of the year of the semester. It's way easier to have this connection, this empathy, which we mentioned before, and well, to um, finally have the alliance made. Along with the fundraising, well, the formative spaces and the community visits, which are maybe the most transforming part of the students, because it's the experience that you're not gonna have on classroom that Techo makes. Oh no. Here it's the international Techo volunteer experience. As I've mentioned, ISP and Techo like institutionally made this alliance and joined join efforts to empower young volunteers by building strong connections with the Latin America community. First, the schools are invited to join the ISP Techo clubs. Like ISP launches the program and the schools can enroll into it. When they do, we have like this formative or this induction phase where Techo makes these workshops for the club, or at least the meetings, in order to kind of create it. And then the action goes on, where we coordinate joint efforts uh, for fundraising local construction events, with then or after that the goal of participating in an international building experience, which will probably be made on Costa Rica on May of 2026. So it's like that's the goal of having like an exchange building experience where the students that did the same thing all across Latin America, or at least across the countries that will be participating, go into one country and share their knowledges, their culture, their experience, the learnings, their reflections, and it's gonna be, well, just a huge thing to experience. Also, hopefully, as well as for us as or for you as ambassadors. Now, for a bit of the definition of what is a Techo Club, well, we can define it like as a group of students who decide and who make in their at their high school a basically a mini Techo, with the objective of supporting poverty alleviation and making a more fair society. How does it start? Well, the program, as I've mentioned, it is already officially launched at all ISP schools across Latin America and the Caribbean. Then the international office of Techo will and calls like the countries involved where there are schools like enroll on the program. Also, as Techo International contact those countries where there are schools enrolling to to be able to build these Techo clubs through the ambassadors. So the follow-up of the group, there will be like a global strategy, which is the one led by the international Techo team, such as this meeting, for example, followed by the local office contact, like you in Techo, if you're from uh, Panama, well, your coordinator from Panama, for example. Um, and each school will have a fundraising goal that will be set with the school depending on their expectation, kind of on the how many students are enrolled, like the support, the expectation. I don't know, there are many contexts. That's something that it's up to you to decide. Of course, we want to project it to as big as we want, but we understand that also, as being a pilot program, well, there need to be some adjustments. We, as I've mentioned, are gonna, or you are gonna be setting a fundraising goal, and it is very important for you to understand, and I know that you do, as you've already participated in Techo, the emergency homes that we build, or viviendas de emergencia. It changes across countries. The model is different, but the concept is the same. It is like this constructive system of around, and it varies a lot, 20 square meters, that satisfies an immediate need. It is an emergency response. You need to have like this in mind, that it is a first step. In Techo, we believe that it is a roof, like a maybe a first step or a base where people can develop then their lives. So it is something that we can make together in a weekend, but that is gonna set a middle ground in order to well develop a more fair and uh, rightful life. It is designed to be built in a weekend by 10 volunteers collaborating with the family in this transforming experience. Because that not only it is a transformative event or action with the families, but as well as volunteers. I'm sure you can recall it is like the most life changing experience that you can have in a weekend. I am gonna show you this video, and I want you to keep whatever you feel after watching it and share that and make as much effort as you can into transmitting that to your clubs.
Yo no sé qué iba a hacer esta colonia si Techo no hubiera llegado. Forma que yo vivía, pues no era una casa, pues era una choza donde yo vivía con plástico, tablas, cobijas, sábana poníamos. Y cuando llovía, mi marido se levantaba y metía una tabla y metía otra tabla, chorronal de agua a este lado, chorronal de agua a este lado. Ay, no, era una cosa terrible. Porque no nacimos con luz, no nacimos con refri, no nacimos con nada de eso, ni el gas tampoco. Tengo muchos años aquí en Guadalajara y nunca viví en una casa que sea mía. Y cuando me hicieron esa casa, yo fui muy feliz porque me dio mucha emoción de tener una puerta, de tener una ventana, de colgar una cortina, porque decía yo, ay, nunca voy a tener una casa, de ver mi casa con una cortina, con una ventana cerrada, una puerta. Entonces, pues nunca, ahora sí que nunca tuve un dinero, un ahorro que así como para, digo yo, ay, voy a comprar un poquito de material para hacer un cuarto, aunque sea, pero no lo tuve. Entonces, ¿tú crees que no amo una casa? ¿Cómo te diré que para mí vale mucho la vivienda? Me llamo Dominga Mendoza y pues soy muy feliz aquí.
Well, thank you for your patience. I hope you like the video. Remember, keep whatever you're feeling, keep what motivates you, because we want to transmit this. We want to set fire into the hearts of the students that we're gonna meet, the teachers, the communities, the families. We also like to relate it as ISP is an educational institution. We need to see the correlation between housing and education, and I think that you can relate it pretty easily. Maybe it's not the first approach that we have, but we do tend to see how the appropriate house impacts security, for example, and this reduces exposure to violence and constant relocations, promoting also school stability. In the part of privacy, it facilitates uninterrupted studying, promoting a very academic performance. It also fosters international relationships. A dignified home improves family relationships and boosts confidence to interact at school. Also, related to the well being and mood, having a better performance at school, also with sleep quality and health benefits, which mean fewer school absences. So, this is maybe something that during the ISP Techo Club or during the models, which you're gonna see later, is gonna be presented or brought back. And this is kind of the relation that I think you can see, or you can even have some examples from the personal experience that you have. Now, for the structure of the Techo clubs, here we have the in general what it is. As you can see on the right, it is like the continent or the map. The little techo icons are like where a school kind of enrolls, or maybe many. It's just an example over there. And when that happens, we contact, and it's what we're having here with the local ambassadors, which are volunteers from Techo's local offices from each country who are gonna have contact with the Techo Club's coordinator, which in this case is myself, and the local Techo team. So whoever is in charge at the country in which you are. And then through you and through your leadership, it's gonna be the communication and the whole process with the Techo Club. You can see here the Techo Club, and there is also a key profile, which is the counselor teacher. This counselor teacher is in charge of the PILOS. It is like the name that ISP gives it, and it is the Project International Learning Opportunities, like the coordinator. So it is the teacher who is in charge of that international learning opportunities, which is also the Techo Club's project. Um, Now for the club ambassador profile, here is like kind of the description. You're gonna find here the commitment letter. I would encourage you to read it to kind of be more sensible about what are the commitments with joining this program and with being elected to participate it along with other volunteers from across the region. As I've mentioned, the structure is this. Like, you're gonna be in direct contact with the other ambassadors and with myself as Techo Club coordinator, and well, it's not here, but with your local Techo team to directly have the work with the Techo Club. The role objective, I'm gonna read it. No, you can read it, and I'm gonna explain it. Well, it's basically to be the bridge between the Techo Club and the Techo local office, having and building, being able to implement the Techo program at a school. It is like building a mini Techo at a specific school. Now you're gonna see like the structure, but it has formative events, it has fundraising, logistic, communication. So it is needed a profile who coordinates it. It is not a matter of you're gonna be the ones fundraising and making the images and everything, but more of something where you are gonna teach others about Techo, teach the students, and facilitate with tools that we are gonna have some tools as part of the like the program, international program, but as well complementing it with what you have, what you know, what your local Techo team can give you, in order to um, train them, plan the events, recruit their volunteers, and coordinate the club in order to achieve the goal that you're gonna set. Some of the duties and responsibilities are like to define the steps with the club, train the club, be present on the spaces if it is necessary. If the teacher tells you, we want to be in, but we haven't been able to contact the students, well, it's also going to be part of it to kind of make this campaign to look up for volunteers at the school and make like your student board. Also, keep track of the club's progress in finance and formative activities. This is a very important part that will come almost at the end, so please keep watching the video, which is like an Google Sheets or an Excel document. Now, the general structure, as you saw previously, the one on the right, now on the left, it's the part of the student board. And these are kind of the coordinating roles of the ISP Techo Club. You are gonna be in direct contact coordinating with them in order for them to manage the group. As you can see, there are these two roles with which may be like the key pieces. These are gonna be volunteers that you need to mm, make them fall in love with Techo, with a community, with a story, and to kind of foster them and push them in order to achieve the goals and to set new goals. So this is like the president and vice president who lead the way of the club. Then we have the areas. This is why I say that it's like a mini Techo at a school. We have the communication, the public relations part, Instagram, social media, all of that, the presentation maybe. Then we have volunteering and development, which is, well, the formative part and the logistics kind of the group managing. Community intervention, which is a profile that we like to facilitate the participation and to kind of make easier for the student group to go to the community. So this is a person who kind of can make like the logistics for a community visit along with someone who you can put in contact of maybe an EDC, community team, or some profile like that. And finally, the fundraising, which is these are like the coordination or the areas, the coordinating areas, and fundraising will of course will be in charge of the finances and of the fundraising strategy. Then they may have, and hopefully they have, volunteers that are not necessarily coordinate some areas. These are profiles for only a couple of students. Like the minimum, it's I believe 6 students here as part of like the kind of, you can see it as fixed team as equipo fijo, which we have on all the countries, and the other volunteers can be the ones that are part of it. They participate, but they are not coordinating. So the Techo, this student board are the ones that kind of lead the other general volunteers in order to participate, to have this transformative experience. So volunteering and development has also the goal and the objective to make this a transformative experience for the other volunteers, which are his fellow or her fellow colleagues. So yes, as you saw on the presentation, on the slide in which I shared my story with the other program, I was at a time a volunteer. Just generally, I participated on the bake sales, on the activities, on the talks about formative things, and and then on the construction event, I fundraised, I participated, I went to the building experience, and I ended up liking it so much that I wanted to join the board as like with a coordinating area. I began on communication, and then on these other roles, I don't remember in which, but yeah, that's how it works. I now have some other materials, but this is the proposal of like a cycle that we need to follow. If you are familiar with the volunteering cycle in Techo, it is basically like this format that we have in order for us as volunteers to have like this basically a good experience. So the first one is the introduction. You yourselves are right now on the introduction phase, which is get to know Techo, the program, consolidate a team at the school, and design the fundraising strategy. So it's like the beginning, setting the goals, meeting the team, and assembling a team. Then we have the action phase. This is the part where we basically spend most of the time. As you know, Techo is foots on the ground, and it is where we discover and volunteer in Techo community, where the students will do this in their home country. Guarantee educational workshops. This is a very, very important part of it, since we want the youth transformation, and also the fundraising for the construction. Without fundraising, we couldn't be able to build these homes. And then the transforming, this is like the building event. Hopefully in all of us will meet on this transforming event in Costa Rica, but maybe not every country can or want to participate on it. So there can also be the transforming event as a local construction in your home country. And finally, there is the echoing phase, which is basically like the renew or closing part of the cycle, which is when we evaluate, when we share what we did, the results, the achievements, and we renew, or kind of the club board, maybe it will stay the same, or maybe it will kind of integrate the next generation in order for the club to keep on going through the years as the years pass by. Here is kind of a preliminary calendar. Schools in different countries have different calendars, so it is very difficult to arrange one. That's why we kind of only put it on phases. Now we are right here on dates, so we are on the introduction. It is a very short period of time which we have for the introduction, but it is crucial for the success of a Techo club. Then we have the action, which is fundraising, having the visit at the community, making this formative spaces. I'm forgetting words. Well, also at the beginning of the next year and at April or May have the building experience or the construction event, and then on June the echoing. I remember I remind you that this is only like a kind of a general scheme. Now, what next? This is a part of what comes next. Then now, what next? We have, we will have the ISP final confirmation list at October. I don't know if at October 1st, but hopefully this is the last week that they have to enroll kind of officially with ISP to kind of join the program. After that, we will have all the contacts of the schools. If you are here on the meeting, or if you're seeing this video, it is very, very, very likely that we already have your school enrolled, but we are waiting for the official list and the kind of the contacts of the, like the name and the email or the number of the teacher who is the pilot. And after that, you're gonna set a meeting with your club, have the induction or this formative space, this planning space, and then move the transformation. I have an important part for you. If you weren't able to be here, this is a crucial part of it because it's how we're gonna be doing this project along the year. First, you need to remember that leadership, it is a crucial part, and it is mm, like the center of what you will be doing as ambassadors. You know that in Techo we have a certain type of leadership that we um promote. One of it can be described with four qualities, and the first one is like yourself as leaders, you want to empower others. So lead others to develop, make them feel excited and in charge of the projects. If there is someone who has a great idea and that you see the excitement, empower them in order to achieve this and to transform themselves through that excitement, turned into a project or into a coordination or leading something. Then responsibility. Now that you empower it, make them also responsible for the actions, for their actions, and be responsible also of them. If we plan strategies and we do not follow them, it is our responsibility, and we need to be accountable of our actions or of our lack of action. Bravery. There are gonna be times where things may get tough when we have certain challenges, so we need to also be brave and remember that we can do this. We may be young, we may be students, but we can do this. And finally, to be humble, to recognize errors and accept and learn from critique. Look for other voices to solve problems. So this is a crucial part. They're gonna look up to you as ambassadors, even although you may have a like just a few more years than them. Um, they do look up to you. So it's important to to be humble with them, to recognize your errors, to be honest as well. Now, what are the student groups? Well, I've mentioned before that there are like this mini Techo at a school, and it has two main pillars related to Techo. The first one is to promote the promotion of social awareness and action through activities learning outside the classroom, and the second one is to support for communities for community development through their ongoing participation in communities living in poverty situations, managing projects as a team, and planning the implementation, for example, of the building events. Here you've already seen this part of the structure, and it can be explained kind of into three parts. These are the roles which you need to fill at your club, but you can understand it and you can also explain this to them, which is how do Techo clubs work. It is important that everybody has a task. I say in Spanish that responsibility of all is responsibility of nobody. If there is not one person, two persons who are set a responsibility, it's gonna be free and open for anybody to take it or for no one, which is usually what happens. So it is very important that we divide into tasks. And there can be like three major areas, which the first one is team management, the second one is project management, I think it says there, and finally community work. The first one, which is team management, students group are an opportunity to bring textual learnings to young people who haven't had a similar experience before, and we need to know this. This is something that they wouldn't have had if it wasn't for you, and for you by bringing Techo at their school, at their classroom, by taking them to community. So within the team management tasks, which is kind of the volunteering area, uh, through training that we focus on driving this youth mobilization. So have these school activities, these talks, these encounters, and these formative activities to reflect, because it is not useful only to fundraise and to build if we don't know what we are doing and why we are doing it. Then project management, this is maybe like the fundraising, and also president by president have a part on it. The time and task management within the team, resource mobilization for their personalized project, like for their fundraising goal, collaborating with allies, both on Techo, from Techo and from the school, and commitment and responsibility, kind of making it a safe environment, but where they are all committed into a project. So basically keeping track pushing them to make this. It is not your responsibility to push their volunteers, but to see how they are gonna do it and to keep them thinking what are they doing, what can they do better, how are they gonna implement new strategies in order to achieve the goals. And finally, the community work, which is kind of like the participation at a community, I think is super important. It's not the same to see a slides presentation or a video like this about poverty or about the popular settlements than going at one and having an eco community visit where you make this service and listen to the stories, or a construction event. The international building experience, well, of course, it's on another level. The community integration visits, maybe something just get them involved at the mm, at the work table. No, uh, the the Techo team on the community. The fundraising part, it's super important, and we have in this space a brief formative moment about fundraising, because it is the first part that needs to come, because it is what takes most of the time. So fundraising, you need to understand it, and I hope that you can give this presentation to them. It is not only the fundraising doesn't start with money, it starts with a story or with an emotion. People don't just give money because they have it. They participate because they feel that they are a part of it, that they need to act, and they have the possibility to be a part of the solution and of the transformation. Some emotions are very important because they connect. They create a bridge between the problem and the person who can do something about it. So once that one something that seemed far and disconnected, through empathy can connect and be not only a statistic but a human story in which you can be a part of it. They drive also to action. Emotions can drive you to action. When you feel empathy, hope, or even anger, you can transform that into action. So emotions also create movement, and it is something very important on fundraising with the students as well. Then they build relationships, and it is important to understand that fundraising isn't a transaction. It is just, do you want to give money, you give money and it's over, but you need to build a long-term relation. um, this can be even thought out on communication. If you are sharing the results, the stories, where the money is put on the transformation, involving them, it creates a strong relationship where people who believe in what they do are gonna keep doing it. And every meaningful relationship is built on emotions. Some of the ideas of what they can do, a digital campaign can be very useful. Having kind of a concept and promoting it on social media, on their networks, on their groups. Then events or a fair, kind of these fundraising events and small events, which are key because they don't take maybe as much effort, and having like 40 students, for example, is going to make it very easy for them to make a raffle, a bake sale, maybe even a class with cost. Maybe if there's a teacher that is a yoga expert and uh, her class is like $1,000, you can make it. You can convince her to make a social or like a class with a purpose, and all the earnings can go to the goal. Another one is a challenge. This is one that I do not recommend for a short term, but something as a challenge like a marathon of 5K, 5 homes, it can be very good. And finally, which I think I block a bit over here, it is, oh no, that didn't work. It is the allies, the fundraising through allies or through donations. This is, as I've mentioned, a crucial part of the Techo Clubs project, because it is an opportunity to reach new audiences, new brands, new businesses who can participate in Techo, and which can make the program more sustainable on a, well, broader picture. So this is very important. Remember to keep the emotion apart, to build a relation. But I can't tell you enough that uh, maybe the same effort that can go into a bake sale can be put into a speech or a pitch with an ally, and the bake sale, maybe if we are super optimistic, can give half of a house, and an ally could possibly fundraise to 5 homes. We've had allies. Well, they are on a bigger scale, but that they've funded 14 houses. So of course there is a kind of a relation between the effort and the possible achievement, and we have a tool for that that's coming next. And this is called the Gantt. It's the Excel, which is a crucial part. I'm going to explain it on this video um, here. And this is basically like your center of control. This is where we're going to put all the work, where I'm going to be able to see how you're doing, what you need, where are we in terms of the fundraising goal, the formative spaces, and everything here. And this is a document that you are gonna have to use and to fill along with your Techo Club. There is a folder, a Google Drive folder, which you're gonna find on your mail. That then you make a copy of this document. You put your country and the name of school. Maybe you don't have it yet, so maybe you don't need to do it yet. You can make the copy and then fill the school name. But on the first meeting, you are gonna you're gonna have these 3 objectives. No. Opa, here. First, as I've mentioned, we're gonna give you the final confirmation 1st October. Well, hopefully 1st of October. Give us this week, please. Set a meeting with your club. Maybe you're gonna already have students involved. That's gonna depend on what the teacher, what the pilot says. Have the introduction, kind of the CTA, present the program. You can use this exact presentation, and then you're gonna start the transformation, which is on your hands. There are some minimums for the first meeting, which hopefully can be an hour long. Introduce the project, yourself and Techo. As we met ourselves here, it is important for you to build a relation with them. Friends first, business second. It is so important for you to have this bond and these things in common with them. Find something that you both like. Then set a club student board with, maybe there are already students and you only need to define who is going to make what, and make sure that they have the work plans. This is basically that they can set specific goals for them, that they know what their role is and what their responsibility that is, what responsibility we what responsibility they will be taking. And finally, defining the funding goal and the funding strategy. Here now we have the Google document in which you are going to be able to achieve these first and these minimums, which are going to go on for all the semester. Here on this document is where you're going to systemize the whole work of the ISP Techo Club. Here on ambassadors, well, you're going to put your name. If there is only one ambassador, well, welcome, you can do it. If there are 2 ambassadors, 3 ambassadors, you can put your names here, and you're going to make this exercise with the students. The president, vice president, make sure it's a democratic process and listen to all their voices. They are also teenagers, so it needs to be a democratic thing. Therefore, well, this is financing. Then this is volunteering and development, community engagement, and communication. As I've mentioned, there at least needs to be 1 person on each role, and you can make it as you prefer. I recommend that there is at least 1 person. Maybe on some areas there can be 2 coordinators. That's what I recommend, but there can be more people. I wouldn't suggest more than 2 or 3 people for at least as coordinators. Of course, they can be people set on specific projects, but not as coordinators of the area. Now we have this sheet, which is the fundraising part, and this is the activity that you're gonna make with them on the first meeting. Here we have kind of a fundraising strategy to for the housing. There are like some columns and lines which have important information. First, we're gonna start with the top part. Here you're gonna put like the fundraising goal. This is in dollars, and it's gonna automatically calculate the what you have already gathered, what it's missing, the percentage, and here you have what it's missing. Here we have activities. People responsible, it needs to be an individual. Remember, some responsibility of everyone, it's responsibility of nobody. Then we have the strategy, and we're gonna begin with this. We have some activities that are made individually, such as individual goals of fundraising. This is something that we used at our school, which also improved the confidence of them and the commitment, because when you enrolled, you had like a goal to raise around $150, for example. In some cases, it was like $200. In some cases, it was like 100, and you had to look for allies or for possible donors to to make your goal to fill your fundraising uh, individual goal. There were some people that couldn't or didn't have access to some contacts who could donate the money, so they maybe personally or individually make raffles or sell something, and maybe with some bake sales or selling cookies across the semester, they were able to make or achieve their individual goal. This is a very useful thing because it is like a safety mat that can lead you to always achieving your goal, because it is like, mm, if other things don't go as well as planned, maybe some big event didn't go as you expected, at least each person is going to contribute with a small part that can make at least one home, two homes. um, this is in pesos. Don't think that we weren't that crazy. Then we have also individually the part of brands or the part of businesses, which is individually but with the support of the fundraising team to make like a specific pitch, to have a good presentation, and to have like kind of this Shark Tank moment where you can make the fundraising. Then we have the families also, like with the school community, with the families kind of looking for support, maybe even the parent board or things like that. And finally, we have the other category, which is the group activities. This is like, there are some such as events, kind of donut sales, classes with cause, maybe a colecta, which is like with the piggy banks to this work very well on my school at the parking lot with the students, as they are schools that maybe have from kindergarten to high school. There are a lot of parents who want to participate and who can donate in this event. So maybe in 2 days you can have like $500 just by being there with the piggy banks. Then you can have like sales. Álvaro, ¿qué? Ma, por favor, no la necesitas. ¿La vas a pasear? You can have like a small market kind of thing at your school, or maybe look on an outer space, have a paddle tournament, have a soccer tournament, have some feria where you sell food or you earn money from it. Other kinds of things at the school you can make here, and it is important for you to feel with what are you gonna choose to do the responsible. Here you can kind of put the logic of the strategy. For example, here on the individual goals for fundraising, if you have 40 volunteers and they each fundraise 2,500 pesos or like $150, they will in total fundraise 100K. So it is important to make a kind of this logic thing. And here we have sort of a matriz. I don't know how to say matriz in English, but you are, as you are kind of the responsible person of your club, this is an exercise that is super, super crucial for you to make. And it is that maybe there can be one activity, as I've mentioned, that it's gonna take a lot of effort. For example, if you want to make a paddle tournament, of course, it is very exciting. It sounds pretty good, but maybe a paddle tournament, and you can have this exercise with them. How difficult do you think it is to make? Maybe they say easy. Okay, you have already a paddle field where you can make it. You have everything to do. So maybe it's only moderate. But what is the risk? Maybe it's a high risk. And how much are you gonna earn? You can make this with the logic, also with the strategy. Maybe you need to sell a lot of tickets to pay the cost of it. So the result can be only up to low or moderate. So if you have a moderate difficulty, a high risk, and only a small possibility of earning, well, you probably are not gonna choose this project. And that compared to maybe uh, businesses, which can be low, low difficulty, because it's making a pitch, nothing is gonna happen, it doesn't go, so it's also low risk, but the result can be very high. So maybe this one that is all in green, it's gonna be a no-brainer for you to make on the club. um, then, well, you have only the start date and the end date, the projected of how much you're gonna earn with each activity. As I mentioned, here is like the logic of how much you're gonna get from this. So projected is gonna be here, and you're gonna keep track of how much you actually got from it. Finally, for the activities that take more progress, and I think for every activity it's good to keep track of it. So here we have kind of this sheet of the month, like a monthly status advance report. You can only put a few comments. If it's something like donut sale, well, you can only say here we had the donut sale, it went very well, we learned that we have an alliance with Dunkin Donuts and that we can make more profit if we take advantage of it. And on the paddle tournament, well, maybe here they are planning it, here they got contact with the brands involved, here they achieved it, and here they shared results, so you can keep track of it right over here. This is the strategy of the fundraising part, which is crucial, and it's gonna be what you have to feel on the first meeting with the club board. Then we have here a document where you can keep track of the receipts and of the donation. You need to keep track of every dollar that gets into a Techo account. So here you can put like the school name, the project, how much it costs. This varies on each country, so you need to ask your local country how much is the home for student groups, then the total of the value, the one cut. They may also have like a specific time, previous time in which you need to deposit the money. Here in Mexico, it's like 6 weeks, so it may be similar in other countries. And here you can put like the date of the deposit, the event, and well, yeah, you can also have like this for the individual deposits. Like if you put the people here, maybe their goal is gonna be $100 for them. They have raised this, how much they're missing, and the percentage of achievement. On this other sheet, you're gonna find some useful tools. The two main ones are these. This is some material that we co-created with ISP specifically for this project. Here, this is like the main material that you are gonna use, and I encourage you to read it because this is your guide how to implement. Here you have like some competency of learning things that we want to, how ISP fight big learning things that they want to develop, and how Techo supports it. And then we have 5 modules. This document is like 30 pages long, but it's like if you don't know how to make a community visit with them, module 5 is meant for you to have like this formative previous talk, to have this planning. Then you have also like want to sensibilize them about what is Techo and why we build homes. Then like to dive into what poverty means and like the systematic parts of it. Then like a future where no one lives on a dirt floor, like the theory of change of Techo. Then module 4, this one is the one that I showed you on the fundraising, and it is how to be a social fundraiser. Here you can also, and you're gonna be able to use this guide for the different activities. For example, on module 1 we have an activity which I've made with a student group here at my city, and it works very well. This is kind of to make them conscient and to kind of uh, excite how to put them on board with the building and the fundraising, because it makes them reflect on what at Techo means. with some videos, some materials. It is like an instructive manual of how to do it. Here you have like a part of how to build your club board, like the call to action, the responsibility, the details, the description of the profiles, and everything that you need. And the second material is the one that I accidentally shared here, which is the structure. Here you're gonna find kind of the club board, like the line out here, a brief description of every role, and then a full letter of what are the responsibilities, who is the profile, the chain of command, and everything. This even for the counselor parent, for the counselor teacher, so the teacher can also know on what we are expecting them to support us, the club presidents, vice presidents, and every role or area of coordination. So this is crucial for them. This is like the part of their work plan to them, for them to know what the responsibilities are and what they need to do. Because from the moment that they set this goal, it is their responsibility and their decision making what's gonna make some things possible or not. Um, well, I think that's it. Here is the guide, the PDF. If you download it, you're not gonna have any trouble opening it, and the club structure. Here are some other useful resources that I've used. For example, a pitch deck, like a presentation that they can use to pitch to a brand, an institutional presentation to have like the Techo basics and other things like that, like a picture folder, things like that. And well, that is it. Here is also like a finance tool if they make belses, kind of to calculate the cost and the utility and everything in their earnings like that. It's very useful, but you may not use it. So remember, the goal and the what comes next is we'll make that confirmation with you during these days. Then you will need to set a meeting with your club by yourself. From the moment where we share the information, you need to get in contact with them, with the clubs, as soon as possible to set a meeting and have these minimums, which is the introducing yourself, the project Techo kind of meeting, setting a club student board. Maybe there are some schools that are already going to have the students who want to be part of the board. Maybe you need to make like a general talk and to kind of get them to pick who's gonna be what role. This only will happen this first time, then it's gonna be easier. And the work plans with the profiles that I just showed you, and define a funding goal and a strategy. This is a crucial part to get them into action. So, well, this is it. ISP Teacher Club's building our own history, our own story. Remember, put all your heart and efforts into this. We are connected in this. We are not alone. There are other ambassadors who are going to be going through the same process. And I'm here also to support you. Dara Sanabria is also on the project working on it, and many other people. So feel free to ask any questions, and thank you for your time.